Welcome to Footprints in the Market. Today we have Alex Windsor, who is the CMO of GameTime Digital. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alex.
Thank you for having me.
So what I wanted to do is I wanted just to start off a little bit about your background in iGaming for listeners, if they don't know who you are or who your business is, to give them that little bit of focus. So tell us a little bit about your journey in iGaming. What kind of attracted you to the industry in the first place?
I stumbled into the industry what
Okay.
seems like a lifetime ago. I was working at Vodafone in a call center.
Okay.
Completely different, obviously, to what I do now. I was kind of surrounded by 800 people every single day. And I was into gambling then. I'm less into gambling now that I sit on the opposite side of the fence and I see how much people lose. And I was trying to research something like what app to use for the weekends for
Okay.
betting. And I was having a look online and I just couldn't find the information that I wanted. And I've always been entrepreneurial, I guess. I used to sell BBC t-shirts and Livestrong bands and fake SIM cards on eBay from O2 with free SMSs before free SMSs were even a thing. And I just thought, okay, why not try and build a website? I saw that there was an affiliate program for betting companies, and I thought I'd kind of give it a go. So, bedroom affiliate, just myself. I learned everything on YouTube. I absorbed as much information as I possibly could. I would read everything that was online, and I had kind of no idea just how big the iGaming space was back then. I think my first conference was in 2013 in London, and it was just a room with maybe 150 people in, and to
Was
kind
it
of
like a
watch it.
culture shock?
Yeah, but even still, just seeing all these people, I still had no idea how big this industry was outside of the whole UK. And I remember coming home from my first conference, and my arms were just draped in free stuff, and I was like waddling through London with arms full of Labrooks, scarves, hats, anything that a company could put a brand name on. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Do you
And
know what, though? The novelty of that wears off, doesn't it? Because now when you get loads of swag, you're like, oh, where'd I put it?
it seemed like my wife's banned me from bringing stuff home from the conference. Like, we do not need any more notepads. You do not need any more free pens. How many stress balls does one person need? Whereas before I've always hoarded a lot of stuff back, whereas now I come back and I'm lucky if I bring a pen. But so I started off in the UK and I went from one website to two websites to three websites to five websites. And before I knew it, I had 12 websites. And I think I can probably talk about this now because it's that long ago. But XL Media got in touch with me and said, would you be interested in selling? I was young, I was single, I was probably the
Yeah.
right side of 30 at the time. And they flashed this magical number in front of you. And I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? That actually sounds like a really good thing to do at this age in my life. So I sold up. I had a 2-year non-compete, and they were the longest 2 years of my life. I I brought two mobile bars. So we went into the mobile bar business, me and my then girlfriend, who then became my fiance, who's now my wife. And we'd travel around the country, going to Premier League, footballers' parties. We were
Amazing.
on the Real Housewives of Cheshire. We did some like real big events for Screwfix and other big kind of multinational companies, just rocking up with our converted camper van and our little Prosecco van and
I
serving
love that.
Prosecco at weddings and things. So yeah, we got on TV and we footballers' houses, mansions and stuff like that. But it just didn't scratch that itch that I had to get back
Yeah.
into marketing. But obviously, because I knew how to build websites and how to market, we
Yeah.
were number one for mobile bar hire, Prosecco van hire. I went round, brought every exact match domain as I could at the time, and we were just getting loads and loads of bookings. But we sold the business in 2017, I think, when we were pregnant with my son, and literally 1 minute past my non-compete, I was on
Yeah.
Companies House registering a new company, and it just so happened to be Valentine's night, and my wife wasn't very happy that
Oh,
I was like, no, I need to do this. I've been dying for 2 years, so As soon as 1 minute come past the non-compete, I was straight on company's house. I'd got it all planned out in my head, what company name, blah, 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 complete, registered. And then it's kind of, yeah, go again.
That's amazing. You're listening to Footprints in the Market, the marketing playbook for iGaming. Expect unfiltered insight from market leaders on their industry experience, real-life case studies, pitfalls to avoid, and actionable takeaways for practical growth of your brand. Footprints in the Market is brought to you by Digital Footprints, your strategic marketing partner and safest bet in iGaming. So I see the company you registered, was that apps for web media?
Yeah, so the previous company was called Ep2 Media, which at the time was kind of really relevant to what I was doing because all of the websites we had were around betting apps. So we used to own, well, I say we, I'm now talk as plural because I'm so used to having a team with me, but back then it was me. I was the content writer, I was the link builder, I was the SEO, I was everything. And back in the day when you could have a very thin content website and you could have duplicate content and nothing ever really seemed to matter. You could get links on whatever domain you want, as long as it was a link pointing to your site, you didn't really care. So I used to own the SERP for every UK bookmaker. I had position 1, position 2, position 5, position 8, position 9 for Ladbrokes, Bet365, William Hill, everybody. And I used to outrank all of the operators for their own apps because apps weren't really a thing back then. It was like 2012, 2013, they didn't have, and Google just didn't really serve up the information like it does now. They know if you're looking for Bet365 app, there's a good chance you want to download it. So you go to Google Play or you go to iTunes. But yeah, I wish I still had them revenue share accounts now with the operators. I'd be sat here a very, very rich, very happy. Not that I'm not happy, but a very rich man.
And look, kind of fast forward to now, Alex. So then obviously like there's now GameTime Digital, and that's kind of a result as a merger, right, with Sword Media. How did that kind of come about?
So when I could start back again and say I was itching to get back in, I was like, right, okay. I guess the 2 years out kind of opened my eyes just to how big this industry was, because I was still heavily involved in reading all of the news and checking the forums, although legally I wasn't allowed to start websites. It never kind of left my side. I'd got this plan in my head of what I was going to do as soon as I was allowed. And I got 1 employee, then 2 employees, and then Sword Media approached me, as well as another company looking to get involved in the US. And because I'd got the licenses, it was kind of already like a head start for them, that they didn't have to go through the whole rigmarole of licensing, which is a absolute pain in the backside. It's more time than cost. And I guess
when did you get yours? Did you get yours? You got yours in 2017, didn't you? You were like way ahead of the curve.
I think it was 2018, I think, was the first. Yeah, or it might have even been 2019. I mean, PASPA was repealed in 2018. I think 2019 was the first license we got, which was New Jersey. And then it was Indiana after then. It's kind of snowballed. And then all of the other states, well, I'll say all of the other states, quite a lot of other states started to open up.
Perfect. So you guys are pretty much US focused in terms of what you're marketing and what you are doing in terms of all your flagship brands, or is there still that Europe target somewhere?
I mean, most of the stuff that we do is in the US. So Sword Media were always in paid media. So we kind of complemented them and they kind of complemented us, that they didn't touch SEO and we didn't touch PPC. So it was okay. Yeah. Let's have a look at what we can do. I kind of left them guys to do their PPC and the paid media stuff. They kind of left us alone, and they just saw this big opportunity in the US and they saw the big opportunity in us. And I was like, cool, let's kind of not put all of our eggs in the US basket, but we're probably at the start of something kind of very big. Obviously, the US is a huge country. They're absolutely sports mad, kind of crazy, passionate, kind of individuals that just love throwing money at like anything to do with sports. And ever since maybe 2022, our eyes have kind of been focused on the US. So we still do stuff outside of the US, but quite a lot of stuff that we do is in the US.
How do you think like the player behaviour is different? Do you think it is just that passion from the US market in terms of Europe?
I think it's very different in terms of education as well, because I mean we're so used to sports betting here. It's been around in the UK for so long. And when I tell people that we work in gambling in the US and you can't do it across the US, people are like, really? Like Las Vegas is in America? I'm like, yeah, but that's just one state. There's like each state is like its own individual country, and they have their own rules. And education over there, they're so far behind like what we are, and like in terms of where you can and when you can't bet, what you can bet on.
Yeah.
Obviously different leagues, different sports leagues have different rules about what sports books are allowed to accept, and then there's different terminology that they use over in the UK. They kind of mark up their odds in a completely different way than what we do. There's obviously crypto sports books, but there's kind of different deposit methods, and it all seems like a big education for the stuff happening in the US. It completely different to the UK, but they are kind of getting more used to it now. Whenever you kind of turn on the TV to watch anything in the US, like the UFC, there's DraftKings banners everywhere, FanDuel. If you go to New York, we saw like big BetMGM signs everywhere, and it is slowly getting more and more mainstream, but they're still kind of very far behind Europe in terms of, I guess, education.
And what was your expansion strategy like? Did you have like a cookie cutter rollout when like, different states were, having in different stages of regulation, or did you have like a specific strategy for each state or a specific like campaign for each state as those kind of regulations listened?
Yeah, I guess my eyes were probably bigger than my belly, and I would look at Katina, a Better Collective, and these huge multinational companies that have been doing this years, and have got different offices in different countries. And our main website used to be Gamble USA, but unfortunately that fell victim to one of Google's core updates. But I went through all 50 states and brought Gamble hyphen or Gamble West Virginia, Gamble New Jersey, Gamble Michigan, Gamble Pennsylvania, Gamble blah 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 of everyone. And I was like, right, let's put a website on every single one of these. And to realistically do that, the manpower that you need, because you can't just copy paste the websites. They need to, more now so than ever, like brand and individual branding on these websites is so important. And if you look at the likes of the larger companies that I just mentioned, a lot of their sites have all started kind of dropping because they've not been able to add that individual stuff to it. So it was a very long and a very expensive kind of process to get to where we are, but quality is far better than quantity.
100%. I had that conversation, I think it was a few weeks ago with one of our guests, and we were kind of saying that even from like an agency side, we sometimes get clients that just say, we want to enter the US, but the resource behind that, it doesn't match, that level of ambition. It's just it's just so much more difficult than I think what people think. And they just think we'll just go all guns blazing, and then before you know it, they've got a brand, but it's not doing anything.
I mean, I would love to have had a website targeting every individual state, but in order to keep it up in terms of compliance, posting unique, insightful content on there that people want to read, and also kind of getting the engagement on the site, and I guess creating a brand for that site, and having a good social media following, and sending all the right signals. Realistically, as a smaller company, we just couldn't do that. And it did work for a time. And we did have maybe 12 kind of state-orientated sites, but the headaches of keeping them updated, and these offers change so quickly that we'd have to go into all of the sites manually and change them, comb through the website, find where it was all listed and things like that. So, yeah, I learned the hard way, and I've had this conversation with many affiliates that quality is far better than quantity.
Footprints in the Market is sponsored by BetComply, because in iGaming, compliance isn't just a tick box exercise. From new market entry to ever-changing regulations, BetComply keeps you one step ahead. Don't risk it, own it. Head to betcomply.com and take control of your compliance today. Yeah, 1,000,000%. And what about sweepstakes? That's kind of become like a massive growth engine in iGaming. Like, how much of your energy is like sweepstakes versus like traditional sportsbook casino push to the US?
So we were pretty lucky that we saw sweepstakes kind of taking off in the US
Yeah.
in probably around about 2022. So we got in there quite early, and sweeps are quite a large part of what we do now, and a lot of where we put our eggs.
Yeah.
I've learned over the years not to put all of our eggs in one basket. So I'm very,
Yeah.
especially with how things are with working online. One minute you can be on
Yeah.
top, on all the way up here, and you can wake up the next day and you're all the way down here. So sweepstakes are an important kind of part for us, and we were very lucky to get in there. And I've done many an interview for videos and podcasts
Yeah.
and things talking about the sweepstake market in the US, and it's only there because there's a demand for it in the US, and it's
Yeah.
going through a lot of regulations at the minute. There are states kind of clamping down all of the
Yeah.
time on what they will and what they won't allow. So it's an interesting space to be in. How long it lasts for, I'm not 100% sure. I don't think anybody has a crystal ball that can do that, but we'll enjoy the ride now while we can.
I seen that. I seen there was like a big thing, I think it was in New York, where the AGA just decided to give cease and desist to like 26 operators. And I think that like definitely we've had some brands that have kind of come to us with caution who had like kind of big plans for sweepstake sites, but then actually decided against it because it is a little bit, they're unsure about how that will evolve in the next few years. How do you see it evolving? Do you think that regulations will catch up and it'll become tougher, or do you think it'll just kind of become part of culture in the US?
It's very difficult to say. I know I touched earlier, and we have to kind of treat the US as like 50 different countries.
Yeah.
There might be 30 states in 12 months that just don't care about sweepstakes at all. It's just not an issue for them. And yet there may be 10 that go, you know what, this is illegal gambling, it's offshore gambling, it's not regulated. And sweeps might be banned in 10 states. There might be 5 states that go hard after operators, and you don't really want to fall out with the US. Like,
no,
so it's very difficult to say. And like I say, I'd love to have a crystal ball and to know where we are going, but I think we just have to treat each state as an individual. And maybe at some point it will be the case that sweepstakes are allowed in states, but they do have to have some sort of license, or they are regulated. The US is missing out on so much tax to these. Yeah. And the reason it kind of PASPA was repealed is because the US saw how much tax they were losing to offshore sports books and offshore casinos. And a lot of these companies are still registered in the US, so they need a registered address really to actually comply with sweepstake laws. But a lot of the countries are kind of run and built by European countries, so they're still losing that, ultimately, that tax. And I think the New Jersey mayor, New York mayor, Senator Ep2, said something last week about that they need to start looking into this and have a look at obviously taxing, because they are losing a lot of money, and governments would love the money they can get from tax and gambling.
Exactly. And seeing the terms of the brands that you've got out, how many like flagship brands do you have like across the board?
Us as a company, so Sweeps Kings is our main site. It's kind of our biggest, most popular sweepstakes site. Over the past probably 3 years, we've probably had around about 15 sites, but I keep coming back to this quality versus quantity thing, and we've had smaller sites that we tried to grow, and we've just not put the resources behind them, and they just kind of fallen to the curb. And it's always I'm very entrepreneurial, and I seem to have like two birds sat on my shoulders, and one saying, do this, do that, or you need another site to target this, and there's other. You've got already too much on your plate. You definitely do not need another site. Stop buying that domain. So it's always kind of a conflict. Do we keep making more sites, or do we cut down on the amount of sites that we have? And again, quality over quantity any day. So Sweeps Kings is our main site. We do have another site that we've made earlier on in the year, which is going after the sweepstake market, but is more slot focused, which is called Sweeps Plays. We have a site called Betting Tools as well, which is aimed at the regulated US sports betting market. Unfortunately, that one didn't do so well in the latest Google update, so we're looking to mix things up on air a little bit. But I'd say maybe we've got kind of five to 10 active sites that we actively work on and kind of keep updated and push.
How do you make sure they've each got like their own voice and personality and they're not cannibalizing each other when you've kind of got a few to manage, or are they different enough in like who they target? So like sportsbook, casino, sweepstakes, or how do you kind of manage that and find that balance?
Yeah, so that's what we tried to do really, just kind of focus our effort on sweepstakes, on sports books, on slots, the smaller sites. So we have different people working on different sites. We use different content writers just to try and not obviously send the same messages out on the same one. So we'll talk about different things on one. So one is more geared up towards slots. We don't really touch on the regulation or the industry news on that site. That is purely, these are the slot demos. If you want to play, these are the states that you can play in. These are the operators. And then over here we have Sweeps Kings, which literally covers everything. So we do have slot demos on there and games, and we cover providers, news and legislation, things like that, state guides. But it's not geared towards slots. It's more of an overall resource. The sports betting side, obviously, is just all sports focused. We're not touching anything to do with casinos on there.
I think you mentioned like you have like different content writers for each of the sites, and you're talking about like Google updates and that sort of stuff. So you see from like an SEO perspective, like I've been seeing more and more posts recently, like specifically on LinkedIn from people within the space saying that SEO is dying. We've got AI now. We can have like a successful affiliate site without SEO. And the agency side of me is like kind of like screaming inside, if that makes sense. But I'm just interested in knowing like your thoughts on that and what's your perspective. Do you think SEO is dying, or do you think that that's still a way to go for affiliates?
I mean, SEO has been dying for maybe 10 years, and it's something that we've had rammed down our throats by everybody. SEO is dying. I've seen T-shirts, I've seen memes, I've seen
T-shirts.
I've seen everything just saying SEO is dead. But I mean, I'm not saying that AI is not a big concern. As you say, as an agency owner, it doesn't keep me up at night, but constantly in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? At some point, we all might be out of a job because these machines are probably smarter than us. And do I need to go and learn how to be a plumber? But I don't think we're at that stage yet. And people always kind of keep coming back to the same message, regardless of all the AI stuff. People want to interact with people, and they want to read real people's opinions, real people's perspective on things. Like if you're going to go on holiday, I want to talk to someone or read someone's opinion that has actually been to that place and seen where they've gone, see the food that they've eaten, like go have a drink at the bar that they recommended because they enjoyed watching the sunset there, and things like that. And machines can't replace that. Not yet, anyway. And I think that's the same with obviously content and things like that. But there are a lot of AI tools out there now. And I get probably about 50 emails a week of new AI tool. This is for writing. This will save you this. Get rid of all your content team. You don't need that anymore. This AI tool will do this. And I'm like, there are so many tools out there. And the ones that are there are really impressive. But I don't think they'll ever kind of replace humans. And I don't use a lot of AI tools myself. They are good for things, but I think you can tell when something's AI written. And
1,000,000%.
I just like reading genuine content by genuine people who have been in the industry for a long time and who know what they're talking about. And you just cannot get that from AI. So,
and I think as well, like seeing niches like YMYL, niches like ours, where trust is like so important. I think to then place that in the hands of something that's not a person, where people may not trust that. I think that's like a big gamble as well in terms of what you would be doing from like an SEO perspective. Like we're held to like a higher standard than even like hospitality or anything like that. So when trust's so important, to not have that human factor within that and have like multiple voices that have got like objective opinions on it. I think, that's me my agency high horse.
There was a post ages ago when Google first started rolling out their AI kind of results in the SERPs, and someone had said something about, I can't remember, something about kidney stones, and Google's reply was, yes, it's perfectly fine to start eating stones. And I mean, I love LinkedIn now. I'm kind of
So,
check it maybe too many times a day. But there's quite a few big kind of SEO people that I follow on there, and they kind of just share all these ridiculous results that Google's AI is churning out when people are asking simple questions and things. And
yeah.
I'm sure there's a website dedicated to, if not, it might be something worth starting, like rubbish AI answers from google.com or something. But I'm sure they'll nail it, no doubt. And like, if you would have shown someone 20 years ago what the internet was going to be like today, they probably wouldn't believe that you could go on, you can find all these answers to anything. You
Yeah.
can book holidays, you can order clothes, you can order a takeaway, you can do pretty much anything you want. And we'll probably get there where there isn't a need for as many websites, but I don't think it will ever replace real humans, real experience, like you're saying, experts in the field that know the kind of the topics inside out, and they are trusted. Like if I want something, if there's something medically up with me, I would go and see a doctor. I wouldn't trust
Yeah.
Google's AI telling me that because, I don't know, I've got a pain in my arm that I need to chop my arm off, or
Yeah. Exactly.
something like that.
Footprints in the Market is brought to you by Digital Footprints, your strategic marketing partner and safest bet in iGaming. Make your mark and work with us to drive growth and innovation for your iGaming business. Exactly.
I won't be going for a plumbing degree just yet.
Get the Prosecco vans back. I would love that. Just take them to all the conferences.
We just want us park outside your office.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally my idea.
Okay.
So, and see, in terms of that, I'm guessing like you guys have got like really, really smart tracking infrastructures in place so that you've got like a really, really decent view of like which pages are like driving FTDs or registrants and which pages aren't. Like, can you correlate that with like really, really good content, or, you know, what's your sort of attribution process like?
Yeah, and I think AI tools and tools like that do really, really help. I would say it's probably only the last 2 years maybe that I've kind of got, I'm not obsessed over data, but data plays such an integral part now into kind of what we do, that you could have a website with 10,000 pages on there and you could be getting 7 million traffic visits a month. And realistically, I mean, 1 or 2 of them pages could be driving all of the revenue for the website. And it's so important, I think, to see what does work and what doesn't work. And when you find what does work, kind of double down on that. And this is a plug for a company. They're not paid me for this, by the way, called Rowty. I don't know if you've heard of them. Really couple of great guys who run it. But just having that insight as to what works on your website and being able to look at a dashboard and get kind of a really good overview of, okay, this is our website. These are the pages that are making the money. These are the ones that we know we need to keep updated. These are the ones that we can try and move this from here down there. Does that make a difference? Great. That's led to a few more signups. Just changing this button here make any difference? Does adding an image at the top of the page? And kind of just playing around with things and just seeing what works. I think it's probably easier, and you can see probably a more instant reaction in paid media. If you've got kind of 2 ads on Facebook and you're right, we're going to go with this one for green button, this one for yellow button, or a yellow background or something, and boom, boom, boom. And it's a lot easier on paid media, I think, to see what works as opposed to SEO, because the intent is obviously a lot different with SEO and paid media, especially like meta ads and things like that. But playing around with creatives and playing around with page formats and button colors and everything, I think is important, and that is a job in itself.
We had actually Rowty on the last season. We had Michael on the podcast, which was really, really cool.
Yeah, he's a great guy, Michael is.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So I think you've probably already answered the question I was going to ask you effectively, because I was going to say to you, if you had to look at your overall tech stack, is there one specific tool that you could ever do without, or not do without, sorry? Would that be Rowty?
Be Ahrefs as my kind of go-to tool for everything.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's anything else on the market that kind of comes close. And I've got SEMrush accounts. I have tried Mars. I've tried every kind of tool that kind of comes up, and I'm one of these people that, emailed, new tool, buy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever used AppSumo before.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got 78 emails sat in my inbox of products that I've purchased that I've never even done because they just sell me so well in the email with the hook of this will change your life. And I'm like, okay, I like life
You're
changing stuff.
yes.
Yeah. And I sign up, so I'm like, next week I'm going to get round to using that tool. And next week comes and it just kind of falls further and further down the inbox. But Routy is great. But in terms of looking at competitors, in terms of kind of content gaps and things like that, I think Ahrefs is really good.